Hey guys, it's a beautiful day here at Scalp Logic, and we have such an amazing topic today to touch on. So, what are the three standards of SMP? And I'm gonna let Joe go ahead and kick this one off.
Okay, all right, cool. So let's just highlight them, right? We'll make it very simple. So we call it three different standards. Number one is the obvious fake inky head, Lego head. Take your pick on how you want to describe it.
We
I
talked
think-
about this one quite a bit.
I think it goes without saying, okay?
Yeah.
So number two, we're just gonna call it straight SMP, scalp micropigmentation. And as if you see my channel before, there's so many different layers, so many different variations of standards, but we're just gonna call those mediocre results
Yeah.
or
Just not the best results. They could be better. It's almost like,
yeah, essentially better than the Lego head, but
Yeah.
not as good as real.
Not
And that's what
as-
we're gonna
yeah.
call subtlety, the third one. So we have the obvious one,
Lego head.
the Lego head, the SMP, the just traditional mediocre.
Traditional. I think that's a good word. Traditional.
Okay, traditional
cool.
scalp micropigmentation.
All
And then
right.
we have, we're gonna call it subtle
Dun, 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 dun.
pigmentation. This is the one where nobody will ever know you've got it done.
Yes.
I hear a lot of people say that,
Yes.
and we say it as well.
Yes.
But I think there's very few people who really that's their ultimate aim.
And
is
I
trying
would
to-
say long term. I would say that's another big
Okay.
focus is long term when it
So-
comes to it.
to be in the third category, it has to be long term. It has to stand all of it. It has to always look like a real shaved head,
Yes.
right, or as close to it as possible.
Exactly.
Of course, we can get a little bit further. Absolutely, we can get a lot further. The whole
Yeah.
industry, us included,
Yeah.
right, to get it as real as real.
Yes.
But we're gonna call it the highest standard, right? The one
I
that
love
actually
that.
looks like
Yes.
real hair.
Yes.
There's some downsides to it.
Yeah.
Can we just start with that one? I don't mean to start
Yeah,
with
no,
flow.
I agree. There are some downsides, and the downsides are that it's going to take longer, right? It's going to take longer in the sense of more sessions. Number
Yes.
one, it's going to take longer in even when you're here with us, it's going to be more time. Number two, and number three, I would say, and this just came up recent, was I want to get this done, but what if I have to come in for another session? Most of all our clients, and I would say the really researched clients, they're okay with having to have another session. That's an okay thing is, hey, if I have to get another session a year down the road, 2 years down the road, that's perfectly fine. I would rather have that than having to get it removed. I would say that's a big one.
No, that's perfect. I'll add to that. We're in Texas. We still operate in California,
Yes, we do.
but the truth is, we have a couple guys going from New Jersey, from New York, Illinois, Michigan.
Yes.
My point is, all over the country. We get people coming all over the country, and that's who we like to attract.
Yes.
And that's who we say. If you do want the best, are you willing to travel to somebody? Are you willing to? Not only that, I'd say just as taxing as maybe travel is to come see somebody. Let's say if you live in Idaho or somewhere not so close to us, is taking care of the skin.
Yes.
And I'm not going to go into detail or I won't have you go into too many details because, as we professed before, we know a lot of people are watching our channel. We don't want to give away our secret sauce, but let's really spell it out though. I really want to paint the true picture because
Okay.
I think a lot of people we glaze over it and a lot of people don't understand how important the skincare really is. So we're not just taking the dead layers of skin off with a simple exfoliation before you come in. I mean, you're giving them like a detailed regimen based on where they live,
Yeah.
based on what they do for work,
Absolutely.
their lifestyle, how
Yeah.
old they are.
Yeah.
Do they have skin damage? Do they have sunspots? Do they have whatever's going on? You address it. You get their canvas primed and ready.
Yeah.
And then not only that, the question after that is, how do I preserve it?
Yeah.
And there's a whole regimen to that as well.
Yeah, and it's
So-
simple though. I don't want you guys to think that it's so complicated. Most of the guys that send
Right.
over the pictures, they might be using 2 or 3 products, something that they can easily get off of Amazon, and just simplify as much as possible. You're going to use it this day. This is how you're going to do it. But as he said, that's so correct. It really depends on where you live. It depends on your age. It depends on, are you a smoker, your lifestyle. Like, what are you doing every single day? What have you been using previously? So all we do is we dial that in. I get clear videos, clear pictures, and I make sure that I assess and I give them something that they're going to be able to use, not just right now, which is even cooler, but long term. Sorry. I get so excited about skincare because I think it's been a topic that a lot of guys have been jumping onto, and they're so excited to see even the changes on their skin, on their scalp. I mean, that's a really big deal when you have like really dry scalp.
Yeah.
When your scalp is itchy, when you've got these sunspots. I mean, that makes a world of difference.
It's true. You're right about that. I stand corrected. I didn't think men would care so much, especially Texas men, right?
Right?
We care so much about skincare, but
Yeah.
every day I stand corrected.
Yeah.
There's definitely, I mean, I look online, it's looking like a bigger business. So skincare, let's stay on topic. So that's how we create subtle pigmentation.
Exactly.
Okay, and we hit some of the downsides, some of the. Now, what are the advantages to that? The advantage, again, I think the only advantage, is to keep it short and sweet, is it looks as real is.
Yes, and that's
Or as
what-
close to
yes,
as possible. There's
yes,
nothing as
yes,
close.
Yes.
And I think that's really,
yes.
that's who we want as customers, because if I was a customer,
Yeah.
you included, if you controlled my
Yes.
fate, I would only go to somebody who considered looking natural, looking real in all lighting, in all facets, long term, in every situation.
Absolutely. I sorry to interrupt, but I just had a video sent last night by a client, right? And this client was so skeptical. He flew into us. He already had an appointment with another provider, and he was like, he called us in the midst of the whole thing. He didn't tell us till after, but he called us in the midst of it, and he was like, you know what? I really want to come to you guys. I'm really afraid. I just kind of want to back out of S&P completely, right? Ends up coming with us. Sends me a video last night, just like blown away, could not believe his results after 3 sessions. But the craziest part about it is it's not even necessarily the hairline, the flow of it, it's the fact that nobody could tell that he has it done. And he was like, I mean, just blown away. That's what I'm talking about.
I like that.
That's
That was
what
a good
we're
story.
looking for.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got sidetracked, but that was it. That's what
Perfect.
we're
Okay,
looking
so
for.
then let's go into. I think again the Lego head, the number one standard. Everybody
Everybody
can
knows
identify.
this one.
So let's talk about two then. The scalp
Okay.
micropigmentation.
Okay.
Let's run off of what you just said. How real does it look? You know, I referenced the
Yeah.
Spotlight Challenge.
Yes.
We just recently had, you know, just glaze over quickly. We had another provider. There's a lot of people out there, and they're all doing very similar work, right? So I don't mean to pick on any single person individually, but essentially they said, "Hey, I do my Spotlight Challenge. You know, you should see my videos." And I took a look. Their number one objective is not to look as natural, right? I hope people would. Go ahead. What do you have to say about that?
No,
Should I not go there?
I agree. We need to. I think a lot of people watch us, and I'm just gonna say this.
Please,
and, you know,
speak
a lot
freely.
of people watch us because we're very honest, and this is our heart and soul. We love what we do. This is not something where we're like, we want guys standing outside waiting to line up to get this done. We want quality. We're
We don't
very
care about
even
that.
picky when it comes down to the clients that we decide to work with too, right? It's a mutual decision.
I'm grateful now I got to a point where exactly we take on candidates. I mean, we don't really turn many people down, but if people are, you know, not really getting what we do, we have that
Exactly.
ability, we definitely
Absolutely,
play that option
and we
sometimes.
do actually turn people down.
Maybe more than
He's
I
like,
know.
I don't even know.
Fair enough.
But we definitely
Fair
do. You know, especially if they're not understanding the process, like you said, and they're looking for something very quick, fast, and just kind of mediocre. We don't do mediocre. That's just something we don't do, I would say.
So let me. How do you identify it out there? If you're an artist yourself, or if you're a consumer, or someone who already had it done, wherever you stand. Okay,
like this.
2 things to look for. Number 1, and we're overdue to make a video about this: the frame to your face, right?
Yes.
The hairline you choose is essentially the frame to your face. There's a reason why a guy has a favorite hat.
Yes.
It's not typically the design of the hat, the crazy color of the hat, it's the frame that hat puts on that man's head. Same thing with scalp micropigmentation, same thing with barbering.
Yeah.
I see a lot of barbers doing scalp micropigmentation, maybe good tattoo artists, maybe not, but I'm just sticking on the hairlines for a second, right? Those hairlines would never look natural. They would never look real, those straight
We
hairlines.
don't. I think it's more of like a fashion statement for the moment, but I don't think it's a long-term play.
Fair. And if you're listening out there, again, we're beating a dead horse. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people say this. If people agree with us, they probably see this right away and they say the same thing in their head because
Absolutely.
it's that apparent. So now let's talk about the ones called scalp micropigmentation. They do these contours.
Yeah.
This is where they mess up. It's always in the temple. I know mine's a little more aggressive. Some people like. It's
I
all
agree.
about your preference, your
Yes.
style. But again, it's the frame that I wanted to create
Yes.
to my face to accentuate my features.
Yes.
I have a skinnier face. I don't have a fatter face. There's a lot of things to take into account.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of things. You know, how big of a slope, how big of a, does your bone protrude?
Even
your
wrinkles
forehead?
on your forehead, to be honest.
Wrinkles on your
Yes.
forehead, absolutely. All of these things we address, we take into account, right? So that frame is so crucial. So, you know, with this information, I don't expect you to be like, you know, to be able to judge every single provider. But I think if you really start to dial in and study the frame, if you find your favorite hairlines that you like,
Yes.
take notice of the frame and how it flows with that gentleman's features. I think you'll start to notice a trend here. And to us, we see it clearly.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I think a lot of people could use a little bit of help on the hairline flow.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's number one. The other way to identify is looking up close. I know I've said this before. There's no way to say it. Look up close in the perfect lighting,
Yeah.
right? And see healed results. Not a couple weeks. I want to see like settled in there.
Agreed.
And look up close, like under a microscope. I want to be able to zoom in and see the skin, see where there's not ink on the skin. I mean, see the detail. There's
That's
a big
it.
asterisk on that,
Yes.
right? And if
Yes,
you can
yes,
see
yes.
blobs of ink or big dots, and this is
Not
a big one for us.
consistent impressions as well.
This is one of the reasons it takes us so long to create subtle pigmentation. I use a smaller needle. Nicole does it with a traditional 3 needle that most people in the industry use. Different ways to get it, but the
Well, we both use a
size
single, but yeah, it just
mostly the same. Okay, fair enough.
varies.
The size of the impression.
Hmm. The size of the impression is going to be everything. It's got to be super like tiny, and I would add on to that really quick.
Please.
The blending. That is missing
Yes.
so
Yes.
much. That
Yes.
makes it or breaks it a lot of the times. So sometimes I can see really good work and I'm like, oh, that looks amazing. But you almost see like a cutoff line,
Right.
And you're like,
Yeah.
wait, what happened there? That
Yeah.
doesn't look natural.
Yeah.
And not just that, but it's not, the provider's not necessarily thinking of the future. What if that guy, number one, loses more hair? Number two, when he shaves, it's going to look different. You have to blend. Absolutely.
It's so crucial. I recently said on one of my videos that 95 or 98% of our industry isn't good, and really what I want to say is I want the standards to increase.
Yes.
Is what I'm trying to say, and I'm calling out everybody, including ourselves,
Agreed.
on the blending. Everybody
Yes.
can do a better job
We
blending. One of the downsides to blending, from an artist perspective, it takes a heck of a lot longer.
It really does.
If I want to run a business and we want to take vacations 18 times a year and we want to buy some Bitcoin, I don't want to have to do more. It doesn't make any kind of sense to do more blending. But and Nicole even says this to me all the time, is like, you're killing your body, and I'm just a crazy artist in there. I don't even care about the money. I don't care how long. I mean, we take long sessions sometimes,
We
but
take really long
my point is the blending. The blending is
Yes.
very hard to do. The blending takes a lot of time, and to do it
Yes.
properly, when done right, gosh, you can't do it in a couple of sessions. It really does. I could do another hour on almost anybody I've completed,
Yeah.
and that I would take that hour in blending and making the S&P wrap in with the hair. Any artist out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is something why I'm 12 years into my craft, and I still, there's nobody amazing at our craft. There's nobody great, because we all have a long way to go, and that's where I really I critique myself on ourselves.
He really does too.
On the blending.
Absolutely. Man, this was such really good information. I'm so glad, you guys. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I just
Yeah.
got really obsessed with the blending. I'm like, what else can I do? No.
This is awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. And comment, what do you guys think when you guys see the results out there? Do you see most results 1, 2, or 3? Number 1, the Lego head. Number 2, the mediocre, the standard. Or number 3, the subtle P? What do you guys see?